Program complete. Enter when ready.
Welcome back to another Trek review, where each week we talk about Star Trek, and this week is a little bit different than our normal podcast. This week, we're doing a recap of the limited episodes of Star Trek The Original Series Season 3 that we covered. We covered about 7 episodes out of 24 episodes, I believe, and it's our kind of look back on this little stretch. But ultimately, we're going to do what we kind of generally call the award ceremony section of what Caleb thinks of either that episode, and we've done this a couple times, so this will be of Season 3. So as a refresher to our listeners and viewers, and also for ourselves, these are the episodes that we covered and using as a reference. We covered the Enterprise incident, the Tholian Web, Day of the Dove, Wink of an Eye, the Savage Curtain, All Our Yesterdays, and Turnabout Intruder. So before we get into the award part of it, let's ask Caleb, what did he generally think of all of Season 3 of the episodes that he saw?
It's different. It's definitely different. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about Season 3 that is like different than the first two seasons.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because like going in, I was told like Season 3 is not really a real like fan favorite.
Sure.
I don't know if that like swayed my opinions, but I don't know. I just feel like majority of these episodes were just kind of lackluster, and like the plots were all kind of recycled a lot more than other seasons. I don't know.
Sure.
There's a few episodes that I do really enjoy, but the other ones I could like not ever watch them again and be fine.
It's tough because like obviously you're missing like 17 episodes, but in general, I also agree with you that like it's kind of the more not as pizzazzy of the series.
Yeah, it just feels different. It just feels like the characters even feel different too, you know? This season specifically too, like Kirk is more like flamboyant, I would say.
Yeah.
This is like where you get all of like the, mocking Captain Kirk. This is like
Definitely.
the stuff.
Definitely.
He's more over the top.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, it's different. It's just different.
Okay. Let's do the thing.
Caleb.
So we'll start with what you awarded the most unlikable. Who was the most unlikable character? The Erica Ortegas Award. You awarded Sub Commander Tall from the Enterprise incident. You awarded Chekhov in the Tholian Web. Then you also awarded Chekhov in Day of the Dove. You awarded Deela in Wink of an Eye.
Oh, yeah.
Colonel Green in The Savage Curtain. The Irish Prostitute in All Our Yesterdays. And in Turnabout Intruder, you picked Dr. Lester, Janice Lester.
Lester, yeah.
So,
oh man,
who for the entire Season 3 gets the Erica Ortegas Award?
Well, that is going to have to go to Chekhov.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Well, for starters, he's a main cast member. And so he's on screen more than anybody else. The other side characters, like you're supposed to hate.
Right.
So
yeah.
But yeah, I found myself being more like annoyed this season with like Chekhov than anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely picked him twice for 2 of our episodes. So
yeah, and he was bad in those 2 episodes too.
Right. For the Elizabeth Cutler Award, these are the people you picked as being most forgettable. The Romulan officers who were beamed over in the Enterprise incident. The sad officer who couldn't take Kirk's death in the Tholian Web. Uhura in The Day of the Dove, Compton in Wink of an Eye.
Um,
In The Savage Curtain, you picked Zora, the eyebrow lady.
mhm,
And All Our Yesterdays, you picked the prosecutor.
mhm.
And in Turnabout Intruder, you picked Nurse Chapel. So,
Oh
Caleb,
yeah.
for all of season 3, who is most forgettable and gets the Elizabeth Cutler Award?
Actually, I'm gonna say it's Sulu
Oh, wow. Okay.
because there's not a lot of episodes that he features in that we watched specifically, and if he was, he was kind of background character. Um,
Cool.
the
Okay.
last episode that we watched specifically was like he kind of had a part where he decided that he was kind of not going to listen to Captain Kirk, and that was like the most he did this season, I think.
Yeah.
Think of like season 2 where he's running around with the sword and
I think literally the only thing he really does in this stretch is in Day of the Dove, he has the sword and he karate chops,
Mhm.
he judo chops the Klingon, and like that's kind of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, real brief. Yeah. I think that's the most he does in any part of the season.
Very good. Well, hey, right out of the gates, two
Yeah.
of the main cast.
Yeah. Terrible.
Terrible.
I
Unlikable
hope
and forgettable. Here we go.
I sure hope they're not in any mo major motion pictures moving forward.
No, not at all. These characters never ever come back ever again.
Good.
They're also not the only two surviving ones besides Shatner at the current moment either. So now next we have the Trip Tucker Award, the MVP. So
Uh-huh.
gave it to Scotty in the Enterprise incident. You gave it to McCoy in the Tholian Web. You
Hmm.
gave it to Kirk and Kang in Day of the Dove. Gave it to Spock in Wink of an Eye. In The Savage Curtain, you gave it to Kirk. In All Our Yesterdays, you gave it to Kirk. And in Turnabout Intruder, you gave it to Scotty.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, who, Caleb, gets the Trip Tucker Award for being the MVP of season
Well,
3?
the captain gets enough awards as it is.
Okay.
So, gonna have to give it to Scotty.
Scotty.
Scotty's my man. So we got to see in this season, we got to see him in the chair a lot, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah,
I thought that was really cool. There was a few episodes where he was commanding, so that made me happy.
absolutely. Now, Scotty's a great choice. He's an endearing, long-living character that, like, outside of the trio
Mhm.
there, Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, Scotty. I mean, arguably, Scotty is probably the third most famous person from Star Trek, despite McCoy being in
Mhm.
everything. Because, like,
Yeah,
people who
right.
don't know Star Trek always know Kirk and Spock, and then
Yeah.
Scotty, right? Beam me up, Scotty, even though that's never said in Star Trek, but everybody knows it, right? Like, everybody knows who Scotty is.
Oh, is it? It's never been said, huh?
No.
So it's like I am your father. It's that whole argument there.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
that's fun.
The closest I think he says is Scotty, beam us up, I think is what he
Yeah,
says.
it's always
That's the
like yeah.
closest I think it gets to it. So,
It's really funny. You just know that he's the one that's beaming you up. That's all.
right.
That's funny. Yeah, you got to go with the engineer, and
Absolutely.
maybe I'm partial because he's Scottish, but
Drink your drink.
Jang. You've never seen such a fine collection of weapons in all your life, Captain.
Yeah. I
Oh,
don't want I don't
it's Arabian. She's a beauty.
I don't wanna poison the well, but Scotty get to me personally, Scotty gets a lot better going
Oh,
forward.
good. Good. I
But
was
I
gonna
don't
say,
want
I thought you were gonna say like he never shows up again.
to no. No, he's I don't dislike this Scotty at all. I really don't. But I super like later Scotty more.
Oh, okay, cool.
But that's a personal preference thing. Now we're on to the Shran Award, Best Action Sequence. So over the stretch, you first picked Kirk fighting in the cloaking device room in the Enterprise incident.
Mhm.
You picked McCoy versus his the orderly in the medical lab in the Tholian Web. The
Mhm.
sword fight in engineering in Day of the Dove. Kirk's pillow fight in Wink of an Eye. Kirk and Colonel Green fighting each other in the Savage Curtain. Kirk versus the Atos clones in All Our Yesterdays.
Uh-huh.
And most recently, Spock giving out multiple nerve pinches to Enterprise security in Turnabout Intruder.
Oh yeah, that was good.
So, with everything, what gets the Shran Award for the best action sequence?
It's got to be the Klingon stuff.
Okay,
Like looking back on the season, that was the most like action heavy episode we watched.
true.
Even though we had Abraham Lincoln fighting, it really
Yep,
didn't do much. They really did not do anything in that
not a
episode.
ton. No,
They threw a couple rocks, and that was
tried to make
about it.
peace. Right.
hmm
Yeah,
Kirk punched the rock monster. Yeah, not much happened.
burns his fingers.
What was it? Day
Hey,
of the Dove.
Day of the Dove. Klingons will probably always take best action sequence. A
Well, yeah, they kind of have to, right?
little bit. Okay, next we move on to the NX Award for some sweet ship stuff. So you picked the Romulan slash Klingon brig in the Enterprise
Mm.
incident, the medical lab machine that McCoy was using to make the antidote in the Tholian web. It was like
Oh
that
yeah,
vat with the thing on it. Yep.
that tube that twisted all over
The
the
two of
place.
the
Yeah.
twisted, yeah. Uh Day of the Dove, you picked just seeing all of engineering.
Oh yeah.
Wink of an Eye, you liked the Scalosian disruptor little thing. In the Savage Curtain, you liked the dress uniforms. In
Oh
All Our Yesterdays, you picked the little portal discs, little
yeah, those were
mirror
cool.
discs. And lastly, in Turnabout Intruder, you picked the general like medical lab, science lab area that McCoy like sometimes we see with all the little things in the background. So,
Yeah.
what gets the NX award for some sweet ship stuff?
Yeah. Let's keep it on brand. Let's give it to the like seeing all of engineering.
Mm, okay, cool.
I like seeing all of engineering. I like seeing like where the ship functions.
Yeah, well,
It's not
makes
really a thing
sense.
you get to see a lot of in the original series.
Yeah,
Because like Enterprise, like how many times do you see engineering? Like
right.
they're always in engineering,
Not constantly.
climbing ladders and
Yeah, it's definitely a Star Trek thing going forward. They constantly show engineering, which
yeah.
is not good, which is fun.
You know what's funny is Strange New Worlds, I don't really love engineering on that show.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It's just like it's huge
It's too
and
much. It's too much.
it's just not realistic, I don't think. I like the close
Yeah,
quarters, you know.
it's like all
So
the stuff.
like
I mean, really, the sad reality is, and I think you and I agree, all of the I don't. You probably know what the term is. All of those screens that are there are amazing. I mean, they give such a realism effect for the actors and for us as the audience to be like, this place looks more realistic because it's like a video
mhm,
on video depth thing. It's perfect. I love what they, Mandalorian, all that stuff. It's wonderful. But when they're in those scenes, the physical consoles that they interact with and they're punching things in and they're talking to each other and they're like doing that
yeah.
feels grounded and real because it's a real thing. And it's not
hmm
that the other stuff looks fake. It just, like you're saying, it feels so grand and so
Yeah.
unreachable and so samey that it doesn't feel like any of it, like what does what,
Yeah,
right?
right. Yeah, and then they only ever show like three people in engineering, and it's like you would
Right.
need hundreds of people to run
Right.
engineering if like you're like, oh, that panel way down there, 40 yards down at the end of the ship there, that panel needs to be. It's like, no, that doesn't.
Yeah,
Everything is like
right.
engineering is basically just like being inside like a car engine where it's like everything you need
Right.
to work on is right in that room.
Is
Like
right
that
there. Yeah.
room is right there. You can work on stuff, you can change out coils and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It can't
And it's
be,
and it's and it's
six
made to
football
be
fields.
exactly, and it's made to be
It's just
fast and efficient, right?
yeah,
Stuff happens on the fly, and you don't want, oh well, this thing that constantly breaks, it's way down here. It's like, well, you don't want to have to walk 2 minutes to it. It's like
yeah,
you need to get to it in 30 seconds or less.
yeah. Yeah, you got to
Yeah.
fix it.
It's a great
Yeah.
point.
So,
We never really talk about the Strange New Worlds part of it, but I 100% agree. I like the bridge. It's very
mhm.
glossy and very shiny, but I like it. But yeah, engineering
Yeah.
always falls flat for me
Yeah,
when they
it
go
just
into
seems
it.
too vast. It just
Yeah,
seems too
yeah,
much. Yeah.
that's funny. You and I have never talked about that. That's funny because that's how I feel too.
Yeah, it's just, and I think now too, specifically like watching the original series too, is kind of grounded that for me because like on the Enterprise, it's like I said,
Right,
it's you got two layers. Top deck goes to like the top of the engine. You go down the
right,
steps, and it's all the panels are in there, and it's just
right,
makes sense. And then the original
right,
Enterprise is like the same, just a big
right,
room, you know,
right.
and it just makes sense, like physically makes sense.
Yeah, yep,
And then yeah, then you go to like Strange New Worlds and it's just like it's just big and empty and cold and it's not,
yeah, yeah. I totally agree.
not a nice intimate room for like mechanical working.
Right, right. Yep,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah. And but there's a lot of parts of Strange New World Enterprise that I do like.
Oh, they get a lot of stuff super
Yeah.
much more interesting than any of the other shows. Like they make stuff look a lot cooler, but
Yeah. Well, like
they
I always say, I
lose
can't. People are probably sick of hearing me talking about Pike's
it
captain
always
quarters
like
are
his
like
yeah,
amazing. Yeah.
with the fireplace and like the thing and
Yeah, the fireplace in the kitchen and the full, yeah, it's great.
yeah.
It's awesome. I love it.
So next we have the cheesiest thing of the episode.
Oh boy.
So we have the female Romulan commander and Spock's hand touching in the Enterprise
Oh,
incident.
I blocked it out of my brain.
Then you have Kirk's interphasing appearances in the Tholian web. Yeah. You have you have Kang and Spock and Kirk and McCoy laughing at the entity in the corner in Day
Hmm.
of the Dove. You have the slow motion stunned acting in Wink of an Eye.
Oh yeah, that was pretty good.
You have Lincoln getting stabbed in the back in The Savage Curtain. You have the guard who's providing water to Kirk in the cell getting grabbed in All Our Yesterdays. Yeah.
Oh,
And lastly,
ah, man, these are all
in
good. All
Turnabout
good choices.
Intruder, you have Kirk and Lester almost switching back.
Hmm. Yeah, those are all really good.
Yeah, you
Those
picked
would
good
all be
ones. Picked up
fine,
good ones.
fine choices.
I'd say your lightest one.
I
I think your lightest one is them laughing. I think the rest of them were all pretty
yeah,
hard to beat.
it has got to be this Romulan Spock hand thing because it's just I literally had wiped it out of my brain until you just went back and recounted it, and I just had all this stuff flood back to me like, oh, it just made me cringe.
Bad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole that whole like
I
romantic
know.
thing in that episode, it was just off the rails, the
Yeah,
whole
I agree.
the
It's
whole
really funny that
thing.
you like
It's real
you
bad.
totally blanked out on it.
I totally blanked that out. Yeah, I totally blanked it out. Yeah, I can't believe I'm touching an alien. I was like, oh, okay.
Well, the good thing is we just took the lowest of lows, but now we're going to take the highest of highs, and we're going to
Your
do
hand to my hand.
your hand to my hand.
Your
Oh,
lips to my
oh, yeah,
lips.
perfect. My lips to you. We're gonna do the Enterprise Award for the best scene of the episode. So we start with the Vulcan death grip scene in the Enterprise incident. Then we have McCoy and Spock denying listening to Kirk's message in the Tholian web. Then in Day of the Dove, we have Kirk trying to get Spock and Scotty to not attack each other on the bridge. In Wink of an Eye, we have Spock slowing down the footage to figure out what happened to Kirk. In The Savage Curtain, we have Kirk telling Yarnak, the rock monster, that he resisted combat and only battled when compelled by the threat to the Enterprise crew, essentially explaining good and evil to him. In All Our Yesterdays, we had Spock sharing with McCoy his feelings about Zarabeth being dead and gone. And lastly, in Turnabout Intruder, the trial of Spock and Dr. quote-unquote Janice Lester. So those were the ones you
could have made
gave.
up anything.
So,
oh boy,
what gets the Enterprise Award for the best scene?
I think it's the Day of the Dove one where they're fighting on the bridge.
Okay, yeah.
I really liked that scene. I really liked the coming to realization, like, and fighting through that. What am I doing? What are we doing? Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
The Rock, him talking to the Rock, looking back on it, I wouldn't put it up that high. It was kind of lame, you know.
It was a little rushed,
That's the best part of that episode, but in the grand scheme of things, it was just like, he's like, hey, so you didn't do this. And he's like, yeah, actually we did, because like you made us do it. And he was like, all right, you can leave. Okay. Well, I'm glad we explained that to you. Yeah.
Yeah. So the interesting thing is, and obviously it's a varied response, but it kind of seems like overall you kind of picked a lot from Day of the Dove.
Seems like it.
You know,
probably is the best episode of the season.
You think so? Okay.
It might be. It might be. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
So yeah, that concludes what Caleb thought of season 3. But now that we're finished with an entire series, next week we're going to get into what did Caleb think of the entire series of the original Star Trek. We're going to do like a rundown memory lane for all of it. So as always, if you like the video, like it. If you dislike it, dislike it. Share it with all your friends and family and Trek enthusiasts. Subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and ring that bell for notifications so you don't miss another episode of the podcast, Trek history, or anything else that comes to the channel. And as always, you can go over to Caleb's channel. You can subscribe to him. He makes things over on his channel. He recently put out a Pokemon video where he prints out and paints Pokemon. Yeah, I think a couple days ago our Dragon Ball podcast came out.
Yeah, Friday the 19th. And I had a Space Ghost Coast to Coast video that week too.
That's right.
That you can check out if you have not seen it already.
Hot diggity dog.
Hot diggity dog. What a weird time in history that was, right?
Yeah.
Where you have like this comic character then became like a show, and then they were like, hey, you know what would be really cool is if he had like his own talk show for kids that don't know what talk shows are.
Right.
Like, yeah, that'd be fun.
It was a pretty funny show.
And then we'll have Brax do like new songs of the week. It'll be great.
Yeah. Miss those days.
Yeah. There's nothing like it. I like throwing spaghetti and Bigfoot and Yeti.
One of my favorite things is I still do it to this day, is where I go like this. Like it's like this. I can't believe it's happening. Look over there. Brack always does it. He always stand up and like talks. Because they don't want to like animate the mouth moving, so they just put his hand over his face.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so funny. Yeah.
So yeah, give him a like, give him a subscribe, watch a video. You decide.
The choice is yours.
The choice is yours.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Next week, look for what does Caleb think of the entire original series, Star Trek. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Rate and review if you're on the podcast end of things. Check out our Discord if you want to talk to us. And Caleb, send us out.
All right. Computer end program.
See you guys.